Purdue fans. This is Johnny DeCamp bringing you play-by-play the rousing...
Hi, everybody, along with Ron Kramer, this is Pete Van Wieren welcoming you to Ross-Ade Stadium.
Live from Ross-Ade Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana.
It's a football Saturday in West Lafayette, Indiana, and one of the biggest home games in decades.
Boilermakers rush the field. What a night at West Lafayette.
Your Central Indiana Ford dealers are a proud sponsor of Purdue football in the Ross-Ade's Greatest Games podcast. Visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today. Welcome back to the Ross-Ade's Greatest Games podcast. I'm Corey Palm with Tim Newton, the voice of the Boilermakers, as we continue to count down the greatest games in the history of Ross-Ade Stadium as it celebrates its 100th year. Tim, like we always open the show with a few notes. We're trying to list these in chronological order instead of rank ordering them. So that sort of explains a little bit about what we're doing here, and also we're running out of time to get all the greatest games. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to, but we are going to talk about today's game. It's very significant from a historical, like world history perspective. And without further ado, it is September 4th, 2021, Purdue versus Oregon State. Before we get into that night, and that it's worth remembering, 2018 is sort of the last in our chronological order. A very good. Everybody's feeling great about Purdue football.
Right.
Music City Bowl.
Yep. We
were there. 2019, we sign a big recruiting class. We get George Karlaftis, who's going to join us later today.
Right.
We get David Bell.
Right.
Great class coming in. And that season does not unfold like everybody thought it would.
No, it was a mass unit season. I've never seen a team, I don't think in the 40-some years I've been covering Purdue football, that was as decimated by injuries. And from the beginning of the season. It wasn't like, hey, everything got backloaded at the end. It was right from the very beginning. And if there was one play that typified the entire season, it was the play against Minnesota where you lost Elijah Sindelar and Rondale Moore on season-ending injuries on the same play.
It was unbelievable, almost like truly, not just we say it's unbelievable. That's truly hard to believe that happened. It did. So 2019 feels kind of like a lost season.
Yes.
For a lot of reasons. 2020 was absolutely a lost season for pandemic reasons. There's memories from that year.
It will forever be known as the asterisk season because really your ability to compete on a week-to-week basis was who tested positive for COVID, and you didn't. It was a bizarre season for us in the media because we were at the games, at least the football games, a lot of basketball games we did remotely that year. But the football games were different because when the game was going on, it was the same. You really didn't recognize. It was during the timeouts when the stadium was pretty much empty and pretty much quiet that you really, and players told me that they would look around during the timeouts and you had the cardboard cutouts, you had a few of those, and maybe a couple hundred people in the stands, and that was it. So 2020, and Purdue won its first two games that year, but then lost its last four. So you had the injury-riddled season of 19, you had the COVID season of 2020, so a lot of people, 2021 becomes a little bit of a make-or-break year to see which direction this thing is going to go.
It really does, and a tough challenge coming in with Oregon State, a tough Pac-12 opponent who the Boilermakers don't have a lot of history against, but the history we do have against is really bad. So 54,000 people show up for that game. There was a lot of questions going in. The pandemic still technically going on. A lot of regulations had been lifted. We'd all kind of settled into a certain reality, but a full house, for all intents and purposes, a full house. It was an overcast night. It was a bit misty, kind of almost rain, but not quite rain. A weird feel to the stadium, but also completely electric in a way I haven't felt very often.
It was one of those, you kind of looked around that night and you think, is this okay? Are we okay to do this now? Because a lot of people still were not coming out of their houses, and a lot of people were still reluctant to go out in public at that point. But I think a lot of people were ready to celebrate and to play football and to be at football games. And so The crowd that was there that night was pretty vocal, as I remember.
It sure was. And what they saw, well, they were vocal because it was the first time in a year that they'd been able to cheer.
Yes.
Really,
Yes.
truly been able to let loose with support for their Boilermakers in a public way. And they sure did. Game got off to a bit of a slow start. Oregon State took...
Yeah, a flying thud.
Yeah,
they,
right,
They go
exactly.
take the opening kickoff and go down and score.
They go down and score. They get on the board early. The Boilermakers answer back with a touchdown late in the first quarter with Xander Horvath pushing it across, 11-yard touchdown run, actually. So it's 7-7 after one. And then it becomes a special teams exhibition for the next couple quarters.
That's right. Mitchell Finneran hits 3 straight field goals to make the score 16-7. And you're thinking pretty low-scoring game, season opener, and all of a sudden the fourth quarter, the floodgates opened on both sides.
They sure did. Oregon State wasted no time. Less than 2 minutes into the fourth quarter, they find the end zone to make it 16-14, and the Boilermakers go 3 and out.
Yes.
Now it's Oregon State ball, down by 2. A lot of momentum. Purdue hasn't found the end zone since the first quarter, and that included 1 red zone field goal early in the third. So it was a lot of momentum on the side of Oregon State, and they found themselves up against decision time, 4th and 2 from their own 39, about halfway through the fourth quarter, down 2.
Yes.
Whoa, baby. Was that the play of the game? Maybe the play of the season.
Yes, it was. It was.
You're expecting a run. They need 2 yards.
Right.
Purdue is expecting a run as well. They've packed a lot of bodies toward the box. It's play action pass, and nearly everybody bites. Quarterback Chance Nolan, I believe, drops back and lofts a perfect 35-yard pass right down the middle of the field. It is an oh crap moment for the ages until Corey Trice shows great closing speed, uses every inch of his 6'2" frame, and bats away the ball. Turnover on downs, huge momentum swing back to the Boilermakers.
The one thing about Corey Trice that we know, great closing speed, but his arms and legs just went on forever.
That's crazy.
I don't know what his actual exact height is, but his wingspan is about 25 feet, it seemed like. And yeah, he made a great play. When the ball went up in the air, you're thinking, this could be a touchdown, this could be the game. And they, like we mentioned at the top of this, you don't know which way this season's going to go. And if this season keeps going down the slide, all of a sudden you're back to some pretty dark days. So that was you could say maybe one of the biggest plays of the 2021 season was that play by Corey Trice.
I could totally agree. The Boilermakers, 6 plays to find the end zone again, get back on top 23-14. Oregon State's not done. Nope. Less than 2 minutes, they're in the end zone, and it's back to a 2-point game.
Yeah. And then it's a case where can Purdue run out the clock? And they get the ball up near midfield. First of all, they took a penalty to start the drive, so they're 1st and 15, but then David Bell makes a catch, as always, gets the ball up to about the 40, 45-yard line. Purdue gets it eventually around midfield, and it's 3rd down and 2, and you're wondering, the history of Purdue football in short yardage situations is probably not great. And I was thinking as we were doing the game, I think they need to throw the football here because Oregon State brought everybody up into the box. And sure enough, they weren't expecting Payne Durham to kind of sneak out, and he does, and it's just a matter of whether Plummer can get the ball to him, and he does, and it's a touchdown, game over.
Maybe the easiest 50-yard touchdown ever because, Payne was 10 yards behind everybody. I actually went back and counted. They had all 11 guys within 4 yards of the line of scrimmage on that snap. Just unbelievable. The Boilermakers take it 30-21, and like you said, sort of really set the season on the right trajectory. We all remember 2021 for the upsets that came later, but I wouldn't call that win over Oregon State an upset, but boy, was it vital.
It was an important one.
Yeah.
And the game, as we've talked about, hinges on 2 4th and 2 plays. Oregon State doesn't make its, Purdue makes its 4th and 2 conversion, wins the game, and then you start to feel, okay, maybe things are going to get back to normal, and sure enough, Purdue winds up winning, 9 games in 2021?
9 games, including 2 top 5 wins at Iowa and then against Michigan State. Little spoiler alert, we are desperately hoping to get one of our 2 current NFL players on top of George to talk about that Michigan State game. So stay tuned. We'll hopefully have David or Aiden to bring to you in future weeks. But But yeah, a great season, and then capped off with another Music City Bowl that we're all
much better memory this time.
a lot happier to talk about.
Maybe probably the wildest football game I've ever done.
Yes.
I can tell you I was the most exhausted after that game because it was, first of all, it was a marathon, but just so many ups and downs in that fourth quarter and roller coaster rides. And it's one that Purdue fans, you'll always remember where you watched the game and where you were. And hopefully if you were at the game, you enjoyed it. It was quite a night, especially given the bad experience we had in Nashville in 2018. This kind of set things back on the right path.
Definitely. 9-win seasons are a rare commodity in Purdue football history, and that was one of them. Any further final thoughts on this game?
No, it was just, as you talked about, it was a bizarre feeling coming into the night because, again, it was the first game post-COVID, full house at Ross-Ade Stadium. It's a night game, so that's always going to add to the atmosphere a little bit of a mist.
Yeah.
So it's got that London fog kind of feel to it. But a great football game. I mean, as we've seen in the last couple of years, Oregon State has established itself, and we're going to be heading back to Corvallis next year for the return trip. So it was quite a night and quite a finish for the football team.
One other man that I can't wait to hear his take on the night, George Karlaftis, Super Bowl champion, joins us after the break.
Your Central Indiana Ford dealers are a proud sponsor of Purdue football. Visit your local Central Indiana Ford dealer today.
Joined now by Super Bowl champion George Karlaftis. George, really appreciate you making some time on your weekend back here on campus.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
So we're talking about the 2021 season opener versus Oregon State. What do you remember about that night, sort of that game?
There was like a lot of buildup, because that was kind of a highly anticipated season from us. We had guys on both sides of the ball that had something to prove coming off of a lackluster COVID year, and even more so that 2019 season. So, we had something to prove as a team, and we knew we had a good opponent in Oregon State. It was going to be a good game. I remember, coming back because the year before it was COVID and no fans, so we did the player walk and all that stuff, and you get almost kind of emotional because it was pretty cool, and there was a lot of emotions. It was raining, we had to wear our 7 studs and all that stuff, so that was an awesome game.
What was it like during that COVID year when you look up in the stands and maybe had a couple hundred people, but they had the cardboard cutouts?
It's weird. Weird. It was weird. Not just for us, for everyone really in football and really in the world. It was a really weird year where just a lot of stuff happened, but you kind of just roll with the punches.
Yeah. And we talked about it. During the game itself, you really did notice difference because you're so locked in. It was during the timeouts.
Oh, yeah.
When there's nobody in the stands and you're looking around, and this just seems very strange.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was weird. It was weird.
Yeah. Well, it was quite a game, the Oregon State game. You had to have Payne Durham kind of clinched it for you. You talked about the build-up on that. How did winning that game really set you up to go into a 9-win season?
Just like you said, I mean, that was kind of the starting point. All right, we got some here. Then we went on the road against Connecticut, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Connecticut, and then we had a good game. Tough matchup against Notre Dame for sure. But just kind of set the stage for everything else. So
you were a part of sort of a really important class of recruits when you came on campus in 2019. For it to take, like you said, you mentioned the 2020 was what it was. For that third year, for things to really kind of blossom for everything, how important was that for you personally?
I mean, I'm a Jeff Brom guy, right? So I remember in 2016, 2017, Jeff, Coach Brom, he called me. He's like, hey, I want you to spearhead this thing. I want you to lead this thing. And we had a special class, and that kind of started things, 2 9-win seasons back to back. That doesn't happen very often at Purdue. So that was, hopefully that's a springboard for great things to come in the future. But, that was a special class. It started with, Coach Brom having the vision and everybody kind of coming together and, trying to create something great here.
You have a lot of family here in town, and you had the pull of Coach Brown, but you had some of the blue bloods of college football coming after you. How hard was it to say no to some of those folks?
It was tough. It was tough, and I was in Purdue's backyard, but the other teams did make it tough. I think at the end of the day, it was about my relationship with Coach Braum and the whole staff, really. Coach Holt, Kevin Wolthausen was here, so we had a great relationship with all those people, and they just recruited their tails off, and it's like, all right, I trust these guys. I want to go to Purdue. I already kind of knew that, but just kind of dabble with what if. What if this happens? And you're just like, you just got to go trust your gut. That's what I did, and I feel like it turned out pretty well.
Yeah. What's it like to be a great defensive player on a team that's known for offense?
I mean, that's kind of with the Kansas City Chiefs. That's something we talk about amongst ourselves as a defense. It's like, well, to motivate us, the coaches will be like, well, do you guys just want to be known for offense? So that's kind of motivational factor. And, I feel like last year that was kind of the story, but I feel like this year we've done our part as a unit, to pick up when the offense is lacking and vice versa too. That's kind of what happens. That's when great teams, that's what happens when the offense is lacking a little bit, defense picks it up, and the other way around, and you got to have great special teams play at all times. So, yeah, it's kind of a motivating factor when someone's like, yeah, you play. It's almost like when someone's like, yeah, you play football at a basketball school. It's like you don't want to be. It's kind of like that.
That's true. That's true.
If you can compare the two. So you know what? It's at the end of the day, it's just about the wins and losses.
We sort of saw that here a little bit too in 2021 with you guys. I mean, the defensive performance at Iowa was fantastic. The defensive performance against Kenneth Walker in that MSU game was unbelievable. He was a Heisman frontrunner coming in, and you guys made him pretty quiet that day. So we maybe Braum's teams were known for offense, but you guys really showed out.
Right, absolutely. I kind of used to that, having a great offense and then defense, like, oh, you guys got to do something, and then you pick it up. I think that's when you really see that consistent team success is when you have an offense that could always handle its own, and then you got a defense that's like, all right, these are some dudes. So, I kind of took that with me from Purdue. I didn't like just being like, your guys' offense is so great, like Rod Elmore, David Bell, defense.
They play too.
Yeah.
So that's always a motivating factor for me as a defender, but also for my time at Purdue and now even on the Chiefs.
What's it like to be George Karlaftis walking the streets of Kansas City after you win a Super Bowl? Do you get recognized a lot?
Yeah, I get recognized a lot. Probably a lot here in West Lafayette. Got to be a little careful, I guess. But it's when you win a Super Bowl, life changes. It sounds cliche. People talk about it, but even like in the show, you guys brought a Super Bowl champion. That you may mention my name. So stuff changes, and that comes with respect. But it's better than winning one. It's winning two back to back. That's what we're trying to do this year.
What was it like? I mean, do you normally get nervous for football games?
Almost every one. You get nervous, you get butterflies, the excitement, you get in a rhythm after that first series and all that stuff. And, you get now as a year two player, you get more confidence and everything. You've seen stuff, you're a professional, you've had an off season to digest and all that stuff. And you get some kind of a consistency and a rhythm, and that creates a confidence too.
Yeah. What makes you such a good fit for what you guys are doing in KC?
Well, from top down, from Coach Reed, the Hunt family, they always talk about, you got to be a good person. I think that's why it's a people business at the end of the day at any level. Mm-hmm. But it's just bringing together like-minded individuals. You have people coming from different backgrounds, different walks of life, different religions, ethnicities, races, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we're like-minded in the fact that we're there for business, we're there for football, and we're there to win. And do it the right way, quite honestly. That's something that Coach Braum preached at Purdue. Just working your tail off, doing things the right way. Do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, the way it's supposed to be done, and do it that way every time. I think that's Joe Tiller quote that my defensive line coach, Mark Hagan, used to use all the time. So you get that ingrained, that becomes DNA, and then you get multiple guys that can do that, and you can have a pretty scary outfit.
I have to ask, do you guys play a lot of Taylor Swift in the locker room now?
No. When you have a guy like Travis, and he's, a personality the way he is, it's like you have that kind of respect to where it's like you just treat it like any other person.
When you got a guy like him, like Patrick Mahomes, you said they get a lot of attention. Does that take pressure off you guys?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I remember my first day in the facility, those guys made a point to come up to me, introduce themselves just like they were anyone else. It's not like they're big shots or anything. Like, you never get that sense from them. I think that's kind of where it starts. When your leaders are doing stuff like that, when the best players in the world that are part of your locker room are doing stuff like that, it sets an example, and that trickles down.
That's awesome. I was going to ask the obligatory Taylor Swift question too. My 11-year-old would be disappointed if I didn't ask if you've met her. What's she like?
Yeah, we got a chance to meet her. She's a good person, good human being, down to earth.
That's cool.
She's awesome. That's
cool. How proud are you of what Yanni's been doing this year?
I'm really proud of him. He's been through lots of ups and downs. He hadn't really played up until this year. Since the senior year of high school, he battled injuries and just a bunch of crap, that you'd never want to see someone go through. He was itching. He's dying to get back on the field, and now to get a shot and to perform well through the ups and downs of the season. I'm really proud of him, and I think he's got a bunch of great things going forward.
How often has your family been able to come down and see you play in Kansas City since you went there?
Well, it's tough when my youngest plays at West Lafayette and Yanni plays at Purdue, and they're both here, and I'm 7 hours away by car. Yeah. Any chance they can, they come. Yeah. That's been the thing. They were all able to come to the Super Bowl, and whenever there's the opportunity presents itself, they're able to come. Yeah.
That's good. As the youngest of three, I would have been like, you know what, I'm not going to a game unless it's the Super Bowl. So get there again, and we'll be good.
Work out too,
right? Yeah, that's true.
Logistics of it.
That's true. George, do you make it back often? I know it's a little different because, like, for every Purdue football alum, this is home. But, like, for you, this is home. Do you get back often?
To a certain extent. I went to high school here, went to college here. I'm from Greece, man.
That's good point. Good point.
I'd probably say between here and Greece, I'm back 2-3 times a year here, 2-3 times a year back to Greece. I get a bunch of time off,
True, yeah.
When I do, I try to come back, yeah.
Well, we love having you back here this weekend.
It's awesome, man. I'm going to go to my little brother's game tonight. That'll be my first game.
Wow.
Being able to watch him, be a starter and all that kind of stuff. So I'm excited. And getting able to do the whole deal that I'm going to do tomorrow. And, I'll be wearing my brother's jersey, which will be awesome. And I'm just really excited, just to not have anything to do this weekend, just to be able to enjoy my family.
Where do you keep the Super Bowl ring?
Well, it's at my house in an undisclosed location. But I have it here
under lock and key.
I have it here with me this week.
Okay.
Also undisclosed. I love that you're wearing your brother's jersey tomorrow. You get a chance to be a fan, an older brother fan.
Just being able to enjoy him and just be proud of him.
Good thing your youngest brother won last week.
Yeah.
That's what I told him.
Big comeback. Big comeback for the Red Devils.
Better win. It's like,
okay.
I'm really happy.
Enjoy it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.